You're listening to Mr. Liverpool himself, Frank Carlyle, exclusively on Mersey Radio.
Good evening, everybody. It's Frank Carlyle here from Mersey Radio, and in the studio I have the lovely Laura Gilchrist, drummer with the amazing Kappa Band. Good evening, Laura.
You alright? Hello. Here again.
Well, that was quick, wasn't it? Alright, hello. Oh, that was lovely. That. So, how's the weather?
Short and sweet. Alright, yeah. They've been getting me pasty skin. Tan slightly.
Bronzy.
It'll go back to white. I'm used to it.
Well,
it's a cycle.
As you see, Laura, what happens is this. You're playing all the time, aren't you? You're always inside and everything else, and you're always like rehearsing and things like that. I think that Paul Kappa fella, the leader of the bands, the amazing Kappa bands, I think he should give you a nice little week off.
Oh, we'd have to get a band's holiday.
A band's holiday? That's a very funny thing.
No, Laura. Holidays are banned.
Ed, do holidays, do the likes of bands, and people from bands, do they ever get holidays? Have you ever
it's
get
like, self-employed people.
Ah.
You know what it's like? Self-employed. If one of the band's off, there's no money.
Well, that's it. And that's strange, isn't it?
That's a really weird thing. The dependency on each other is
absolutely
enormous, isn't it?
And I know a fella by the name of Martin Bain, and Martin Bain's one of the finest bass guitarists, and I know that when he's playing in the band, the lovely Maria she's off somewhere, so she gets a nice little holiday. Isn't that right, Mr. Kappa? We have Paul Kappa here.
Oh yeah, Maria gets it really easy. She's got someone to come in and play in her place who knows everything that's supposed to go on and everything. So she's
nearly everything.
But we haven't got anyone to replace Laura. You're irreplaceable, girl.
Yeah, well, I think that goes without saying, to be honest.
He'd be saying the same if Maria was sat here as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and he says it about me as well, and he says it about you, and this is who I've been talking to. Right facing me is Ed Gilchrist.
Hi.
So, what I want to say is hello to Mark Kinnish. Can you say hello to Mark, please?
Hi, Mark.
Can you say hello?
Hi, Mark.
Alright, Mark.
Ah, that's lovely, that, because Mark always sends a little message in. I'm listening in, Frank, and say hello to everybody on behalf of the Kinnish family, or the Kinnish clan, as he says. So it's good evening from me as well, Mark. And also Mo from all the way down there by Tilbury. So, never mind. I thought he would have said
hello Mo.
Hello, Mo.
What's your Mo?
Yeah, well, this is it, you see. So listen, boys and girls, I just said about the weather, and it's been absolutely scrumptious, hasn't it?
Yeah.
We've had some great weather, apart from
when it wasn't great,
which was Friday night, which was torrential.
That was great.
We were playing in Southport. We did all the songs that we knew about rain in a row.
Yeah.
That was.
Oh yeah.
Are you sure it wasn't a rain dance?
I tell you, some of the best rock songs are about rain.
The plants are suffering.
Absolutely. When the rain comes, yeah.
But you didn't do that, did you?
No, I just don't know it. I've just written a song myself about rain, you see, but I forgot to do that one.
Well, I think that's lovely, that, because these are what musos are like. You mentioned about rain, right? Paul mentioned about rain, and straight away he said, "I've just written a song about rain."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called "Mama Rain. Says the Heavens Are About to Open."
Oh, that one.
Yeah, because it's about rain.
Yeah. That's about rain.
Can I tell you how that came about? It was our Curtis was in the backyard when he was about 2 years old, and we used to have a dog called Barney, and Barney had passed away, and it was explained to Curtis that the dog had gone to heaven. His nan Kathleen said, "The dog's gone to heaven. Barney's in heaven." So he's standing out in the yard, and Kathleen calls him, "Come on, son, the heavens are going to open." And he went, "That's all right, Nan. I'll stay here because that means Barney's coming back down."
Why?
So I thought that was quite. And actually, I was filming it because I'm obsessed with thunder and lightning and storms. So I was hoping to catch some storm on film. So I actually had it on film, and I saw it the other day, and I thought that'll make a good song. I was thinking a country song because first off, dog's dead. She needed a country song. That's the first rule of country, isn't it? And so it's tragic. dog's dead, and rain as well. So it had all the ingredients. But then I thought, I've got to change this because I can't have a dog dying, so I changed it to, his dad.
But you could have his dad dying. That was okay.
Yeah, well, that's fine. That's fine, because that happens all the time. But, we did
your dog.
Dogs. Old Shep.
Well, do you know, I'm going to tell
now.
you something before we come on the air, before you arrived, you lovely people. I was talking to Jason, and he had a pet duck. And the pet duck captured a burglar. And the police got the burglar, and as the duck was grabbed him by the bum, or the backside, shall we say, because we're on radio.
You're making this up.
I'm not making this up. I'm not making this up, and this is absolutely true.
Absolutely.
And I said, what happened to it? And it was a limping duck, because when it was born as a little duckling, a cow stood on its foot. Or stood on that, and it had a limp anyway, so... But, never mind.
How do you know a cow stood on its foot?
Well, I'm going to tell you now. You see, they won't let me finish. Right, so, here's what happened.
History lesson.
This is a whopper, this. I couldn't believe it. It's so sad, and, you're talking about little Curtis,
I can get a song out of this,
I can
get a song from this.
And what has happened was...
Keep going, Frank.
What has happened was... They had a ferret as well. They had a couple of ferrets. And the ferrets, the ferrets that were already locked up, got out, and it got the duck, unfortunately, and it killed the duck. So they had to have the duck put down because it was only dying. It was dead? No, it was only dying. I have to correct myself. But the ferret escaped then into next door neighbour's garden, and they had 2 Staffordshire Bull Terriers, so that killed
the ferret.
Instant karma.
Yeah, but it tried to attack them, so they killed them dogs killed.
Yeah.
Tell you what, it's a violent world out there in the animal kingdom, isn't it?
And no one believes you.
So hang on. You haven't told me how you know a cow stood on this duck's foot.
Because Jason told me the story before you came in, and because it was up at Walton Hall farm thing, Rice Lane, little open farm. That kids go and see, and you can buy your eggs there and whatever, and limping ducks, so you can buy everything there.
It's just as well the listeners can't see your face, Frank.
I know, and it's.
I'm gonna make a song out of this called "Dead Duck Surprise" on Rice Lane.
Dead Duck Surprise. Yeah.
Ferret crossed the Mersey.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you what. This is
on.
This is the Liverpool humour, which just grabs everyone's attention throughout the world. It's absolutely wonderful. Now, don't forget that we're being listened to in Australia.
Can we apologise to people in Australia now?
Canada, America, throughout Europe. Someone said to me the other day, lots of Poles listen to you, Frank. They've been listening to you for a few years now. And I went, oh, isn't that lovely? And they said they've all got Scouse accents when they come over. Are you all right there? Do you know Frank? Yeah.
You see, you're influential, Frank.
Well, this is it, you see. It's just nice to have of these wonderful people. Anyway, who have got on the show tonight, which might surprise you, then again, it mightn't surprise you, and which I hope it tickles your little fancies, is, I was just going to say Bo Diddley.
No.
Here he is.
And here he
I think a cow stood on his foot.
Yeah. And the duck, yeah. There's the ferret and the duck. Anyway, we have Brian Fennell on, and Brian's a lovely American who I've got to do a film review, so he's on at around 8:20 our time, BST. He lives in Seattle, does Brian, and they'll all be listening around there. All these people from Seattle going, who is this guy? Anyway, then we have Derek Shelmerdine. Now, Derek is one of these fellas who's written about and talks about the old, which interests you fellas and lovely Laura there. the 60s and 70s, 80s, 90s, right up to the present day, and it's the Mersey Beat era.
Yeah.
Right, so Derek got loads and loads of info on that. And we also have Sacha Christie. And Sacha Christie is a ufologist. What a name, isn't that a lovely name? Sacha.
A ufologist?
A ufologist.
It's like she knows about youth.
Well, she knows about, yeah, you could say the youth without the O. Yeah, ufologist. Anyway, she's a ufologist, and she also talks about the unexplained, which is great. And then finally our Hollywood correspondent, Joe Whittaker, who will have some interesting things to tell us. And next week we have Jamie Williams and Curtis Ryan Smith.
I like that name.
Woodside. No, it's not. It's not Smith, is it? It's Woodside. Curtis Ryan. Why did I say Smith?
It was similar.
Woodside. Very similar, isn't it? Woodside and Smith.
It is quite similar, yeah.
Absolutely.
Maybe you should roll it together. Woodside Smythe.
Yeah. It's like when people say to me, you know, Frank, you're the image of George Clooney. And I go, thanks. But they really mean, but it sounds like, you know, James Corden. Anyway, that's what they really mean. So this is what you get on the show tonight, folks. A load of nonsense, because I'm sitting down with these musos. You know everything about everything, including music, and writing songs right away.
Up to and including music.
Up to and including music, exactly.
But we haven't got anybody on who's an expert at barnyard tales, though, have we? Maybe that'll be a separate show.
Barnyard tale. Well, I'll just give you the
I'll give it a go.
Tale, you know, with the duck and the cow. How's a cow stands on little ducklings?
I think Jason should give us more information about it. You know.
Do you know, you say some mad things, don't you? And I said to Jason, you know, because he brought it home and he nursed it back to health, you know, this little duckling.
Oh.
And I said, did it have a limp? Because the little leg was, and he said, yeah. A limping duck. Have you never heard of a limping duck? That's a song, isn't it?
A limping duck that had no luck. Down old Rice Lane did waddle.
You know, the problem for that duck was, whenever it went in the pond, it could go, went round in circles all the time.
I remember Aunt Jared, and he went to a fancy dress ball, right? A party, New Year's Eve. And when he went there, him and Anne, he said, we've got to get dressed. She didn't want to get dressed up anyway. They go along, and it wasn't a fancy dress, and she's dressed up, and she's not half straight-laced. She's dressed up as a penguin, and she was having murder with him. And he says, and as she was going out, you know, the house rushing, the little tails. Everyone was falling about, you know, the chair was waggling and she was going, and the chair was waggling and he was going, I can imagine he was dressed up as a frog. Anyway.
We used to gig like that once. We used to gig once and we got dressed up. It was like I think it was for a charity thing, and we cross-dressed, so the men had to dress as women and the women as men. And so Paul had his wife's dress on, and me and Maria dressed as, like, you know, little cowboys or like little, like, I don't know, Victorian, I forgot what we were, but like fellas anyway. Little moustaches painted on. And we got there and, like, no one else was dressed up. I think there was one other person.
I just go on stage in a dress, but the best part of that story was that our mate,
getting chatted up.
Our mate Neil, who's we sometimes know as Sydney Bean. He was due to come and pick me up, and I was dressed in the dress with it, like the makeup on and all that. And the doorbell rang and I opened the door like that and went, hi, and it was the window cleaner come for his money on a Friday night, and our Curtis was mortified. He was like, my dad's just answered the door to the window cleaner dressed as a woman.
So the window cleaner spoke to your wife and said, your secret's safe with me.
You'll be alright.
He saved you though, didn't he? Curtis, didn't he say something at the end?
I should have said to the window cleaner, I'm ready, darling.
So what did Curtis say to him?
He's just died of embarrassment. It's just like.
Well,
And
anyway,
he's never forgotten it since.
on that note, and poor little Curtis, who'll be listening in most probably, we're going to a song, and it's Roadrunner by Bo Diddley. Do you like Bo Diddley, boys and girls?
He's fantastic.
He was brilliant.
And this is it. This is coming right on, right away.
The best in 60s and 70s music, plus a little bit of history. Tune into Frank Carlyle every Monday at 8 p.m. here, only on Mersey Radio.
What do you think of that guitar there?
Oh, I did love that guitar. That guitar's very likely an old Gretsch guitar, because Bo Diddley had his own guitars made by Gretsch. They were square, like original one-off guitars, and he was really a drummer who was playing guitar because he set out this rhythm. He's one of the very few people who's got an entire rhythm just named after him. If we play, I'll shout at Laura,
Bo Diddley Beat.
Bo Diddley, and it's it's
You know,
known everywhere.
straight away, yeah.
So a big thing another big thing from Chicago. There's a record made in Chicago that's on the Checker label, and he's just an amazing musician, quite underrated, I think. But I mean,
Do you think he is?
yeah, I think so. Yeah, because he's given us a lot in to the way he's influenced other people to do stuff. Can't be understated, I don't think.
Well, the thing is, it's like Chuck Berry, for example. Chuck Berry was never underrated, was he? With the little the guitar.
I think he thought he was.
He was, yeah. You're not going to believe this, what I'm going to tell you, but do you ever remember when Jerry Lee, Little Richard, and Chuck, played at Liverpool a few years ago? And I went down to see, what's his name? Jerry Lee Lewis, and he went, I'm on, sort of chatting to him, and Little Richard. Yeah. And Little Richard was a super person. So was Jerry. And
Except for the young girls.
Well, there again. Let me finish. Anyway, no answer to that, was there? Anyway, what has happened was, I went in to see Chuck, and I said, hello, Chuck. And he went, not today, boy, I'm not working. Work's finished. And that was it. You just wouldn't see anybody. Not today, boy. Work's finished.
He's a funny one, Chuck Berry. I met him at the same time, but as I say, I met him, he wouldn't speak to me or anything, but he was there, sitting there, but he had a younger lady with him. And there's a great story about how Keith Richards tried to approach him once to say, hi, Chuck, at the end of a show, and he said he was leaving with, in the words of Keith Richards, he was leaving with a bit of white tail. He said it was like a young white lady, as I presume he means, and as he tried to grab him to say hi, he turned around and Chuck Berry punched Keith Richards, and somebody must have said to Chuck, you've punched one of the Rolling Stones there, you've punched Keith Richards and all that, and he said, maybe you should go and apologise. So the next night he went up on stage and apologised to what's his name?
Mick Jagger.
No, the other Ronnie Wood. Publicly, sorry, Keith.
It's unbelievable. Anyway, we're getting away from Ronnie Wood, Chuck Berry, and the wonderful Keith Richards. It's a strange fella, isn't he, Keith? I've never seen a change in a man from his younger days to what he is today. I know time has ravaged him and everything else. But anyway, what we're going to do, we're going to go over to the wonderful Brian Fennell. And Brian Fennell he's a Liverpool supporter, albeit that he's, born and bred in Seattle. I think he's born and bred in Seattle, but he's fully fledged American anyway. And he's a great Liverpool football fan, funnily enough. And I asked him to go and see a film by it was called 47 Metres Down. And he said, Frank, he said, my wife, she's terrified of sharks, and, she wouldn't like to see them. And anyway, they were brave enough. They went to see it. And it's good evening and good afternoon to you there, Brian. No? So we haven't got Brian's definitely not on at the moment. But anyway,
I think ducks are more dangerous than sharks anyway.
Well, if you ask that burglar, yes, definitely, because sharks are like 47 metres down, apparently. But
sharks are lovely creatures, really.
No, they're not. Do you ever see? I was watching when I went to see Jaws, for example. I was watching a documentary, and it was about, funny enough, Elton John, and he was living in Miami at the time, and they were just chatting to him, and it was around 1975, 76, this documentary. Was it? I don't know whether it was a news item or what. I forget what it was. Anyway, they were talking to Elton John, and he said, "Do you go over?" He said, "I just love here, sitting there." He said, "Having a cup of coffee and a cup of tea every morning, and just looking at the sea. Look at this over there." And the interviewer said, "Well, do you ever go in for a swim?" He said, "No." "Have you seen Jaws?" So we wouldn't even go into the water, Anyway, that's...
You have to know about the history of sharks, don't you, as well? Like megalodons and the Dunkleosaurus, or whatever it's called.
Well, you've got the white tip, haven't you? You've got this, the tiger shark, you've got the great white, you've got all kinds, the basking shark.
Hammerhead.
And the hammerhead shark.
The thing is, humans aren't their normal diet. So an attack on a human being is very rare.
No, it's not, because, I've seen pictures of these people.
Yeah. That's pretty rare still.
Yeah, but it makes no difference, It's like anything else. Someone mentioned about terrorism has dropped alarmingly. And you go, well, okay, yeah. Well, try to tell that to the families in Manchester and London very recently. Terrorism is there. Sharks are there. I watch a programme, I forget what it's called, but it's on this channel, this reality channel, real life thing, and it was about this girl how I survived, and it's ate all her mates. This shark ate all her mates.
What was wrong with her?
Well,
spat her out.
Well, she'd
been eating garlic.
She just survived it anyway. But while we've been carrying on and talking a load of nonsense, we're going straight over to Brian. Good afternoon, Brian.
Hello, how are you?
We're okay. We lost you there for a moment, and it's evening here, Brian.
Oh, it is? Okay, well, good evening. It's a little past the crack of noon here.
Right.
It's about 12:30, I should say,
right.
Here in Seattle.
Okay. Have you had your lunch?
I have, yes. Yeah, things are good here, yes. All good.
That's good, because Paul Capper, who was with me, a rock and roll musician, great he is, he brought me a bottle of wine, and his drummer is a lovely lady by the name of Laura Gilchrist. She's just drank it, and Dad's here to drive her home anyway, so we're all in the studio here. Now the thing is, you were on last month and you reviewed a film, and I asked you to go and see 47 Metres Down, and you said about your lovely wife being, a little bit, shall we say, dodgy, inverted commas, about going to see this particular film. So, what's your review of 47 Metres Down, please, Brian?
Well, I must say, before I get to the review, I just want to say, on behalf of the missus, who will remain nameless on your show, no names, okay, honey, she says, thank you, yes, for the opportunity to see the film 47 Meters Down. She, as we talked last month, she's a bit skittish, well, I should say mild phobia of sharks, and anyway, so she sucked it up, braved it up, big bag of popcorn. We sat down, watched the film, and she was okay. She was all right with it. So, yes. So, thank you for helping her overcome her fear of.
Well, this is what I do. You see, this is what I'm absolutely brilliant at. Getting people to overcome their fears.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Except myself. I have loads of fears, to be honest, Brian. I've got a fear as soon as Ed came in and Paul. Now, they're two massive Liverpool football fans, and I said, I'm fed up with it because Ed said to me, "What's the matter, Frank? You look fed up." I said, "Well, it's all this nonsense over the transfer, fiasco, shall I say, or saga. I don't know what to say." But anyway,
so
go on.
Sorry to jump in, but so what's the latest on that? Last I heard, well, they came with a third offer for Naby Keita, and it was rejected, and now he got into a bust-up, so that maybe back on, and the Virgil van Dijk saga is still droning on, still going on. No traction there.
Yeah. Well, this is it. You see, it's all this sort of. Well, again, we don't have any sort of information now. It's only what you've been told. But under good authority, I think we're going to sign both Keita and also Van Dijk. We're going to get them. That's
good.
That's the latest anyway. What I've been told.
Well, I hope so. I mean, we'll get back. Okay, Jason, I'm staying on task, but quick question though: are we better off not knowing the method to their madness, or would you rather be informed of the daily, hourly?
Well, I think it's social media that's got everybody into a frenzy. Not only that, but when Jürgen came out and said, these deals are done and dusted, I think that's when he put his foot in his own mouth, to be honest. So he shouldn't have said anything on that score. And that's why there's a frenzy on social network everywhere, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, whether it's anything,
Perhaps it's a distraction technique from the real deal.
Yeah, I reckon so, because it could easily be, and I call it spin, and FSG are wonderful at spin, absolutely wonderful.
So the real deal's secret.
The real deal's secret, yeah, because I'm coming back out of retirement. Anyway, he's let the cat out the bag. And I think Paul's going to say something here.
I'm saying, I'm following on from last week, I'm saying Neymar,
yeah, absolutely.
Because he is apparently leaving, isn't he?
Yeah, he's leaving.
But apparently it's Paris Saint-Germain that's supposed to be getting him.
Yeah.
Oh, he's going?
Apparently, but Frank told us last week, and we got the jump on it. Frank said last week he was coming to us.
Yeah.
He's Coutinho's best mate.
He's got to be coming to us.
He is Coutinho's best mate.
Well, and we could pay for him is if we give him like 100 shirts of like the kit from 2 years ago, and he can put his name on the back, and he can sell them in Gracie.
Well, this is it. You see. Anyway.
Are we going to talk about this film?
Image rights. Image rights is called.
Say no notice of this, Paul Kappa, because Paul, he just goes off on a tangent sometimes, especially with his music. Anyway. Right, Brian, can you give us the review about this wonderful film called 47 Meters Deep, please?
Yes. Okay, yes. 47 meters down or / in the deep, what I think it was originally called, or anyway, there was just to recap, there was some I guess there's some conflict with Blake Lively's vehicle that came out about a year or so ago. I forget what hers is called, but it's not a big deal. Anyway, so this one, 47 Meters Down, it's starring Mandy Moore and a Matthew Modine of, but he doesn't do the island accent like Danny Glover did in the last film we reviewed.
That was mad, that wasn't that? Absolutely mad. And it was called Hostage. This is for the listeners who remember, right? And Danny Glover had the worst Caribbean or West Indian accent.
Caribbean, yes.
Ever. I'm sorry there. I had to recap for the listeners, you see. So carry on, Brian.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm totally off task today. Okay, Jason. All right, got it. All right. So anyway, Mandy Moore. I think she was Lisa, or anyway, I'll assume she was Lisa. The two siblings, Lisa and Kate, are going down to Mexico as opposed to the Caribbean. The last film. They're going to Mexico because Lisa. She just recently broke up with her boyfriend, or he left her because she's boring. So That's important. So yeah, pin that.
It's important for the plot, isn't it? Really.
I think it was important for her. I would have thought. Sorry, love, you're a bit of a bore.
Oh, come on, this is a serious thing. You've got Brian laughing here.
Okay, yes, it is.
Everyone's listening in. They're all saying, what's this film again? Go on,
okay,
Brian.
I should be professional. Sorry about that.
No.
Take two.
Take two, yeah.
Take two, yeah.
Okay, so... Hi, Frank. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thanks. Can you tell us about 47 metres down that you went to see, Brian? Because,
yes.
This is absolutely fascinating.
Oh, it was, yeah. So back to Lisa. She's apparently heartbroken, and her sibling Kate is saying, "Okay, here, let's just throw caution to the wind. Let's go do not boring stuff." So they take a trip to Mexico, and Lisa, while down there, she throws caution to the wind and meets a couple of guys, and she actually kisses the boy goodnight after their first dance, dinner, drinks, and bigging binge. So somewhere during the night, the two girls are talked into going shark cage diving. Again, going back to that caution to the wind. So they decide, okay, we're going shark cage diving the next day. So no scuba card, no PADI cert, no license, just Matthew Modine, and no accent either, and his fishing boat looked like the one from Perfect Storm, but anyway, but anyway, so they go out into the middle of the ocean, and they're going to go jump in this cage and go diving. After a quick 5-minute briefing, okay, this is the cage. Oh yeah, ignore the creaks and groans from the winch. That's
no. The thing is, when you were watching that, when you were actually watching that particular scene. What was you when it showed you the likes of the winch, when it showed you the cage, and what she said was very important. She said, "Hang on a minute, you sure we want to go on this?" Not only that, but the people tell you to go with reputable people.
Yes,
who's this fella? So that sums the plot up, doesn't it? Really.
Well, that's what I was saying. They didn't ask for a scuba card. They didn't. Again, I'm not a diver or oceanographer, but I'm asking for the stuff. I say, I want to see. Okay, I go to the boat. I want to see stickers. Okay, it's passed this thing. It's passed some test, passed some certification. Captain, I want to see license. But again, that's just me. But no, none of that. So they're throwing caution to the wind. They're going to live on the edge. So. Yeah, when I saw the winch, I was thinking, okay, and this is a Lionsgate film. This is not going to end well. So.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because Lionsgate, you know what's going to come. You know that it's going to be.
Oh yeah.
But it's a hothead, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
Go on then. Oh, that's great.
Oh, okay.
This film,
so
unbelievable. Come on.
Okay, so they're in the cage. Only the two of them. I'm surprised the third person, one of the guys, didn't jump in with them. Just as for safety reasons or whatever. But again, it's film. Stop it, Brian. So they're swimming around. So they're in the cage, and the water's been chummed, and these massive sharks are swimming around. And Kate, I get Lisa and Kate mixed up. Kate says, "Okay, I think it was Kate says that's enough. Let's go back up. Okay, I've seen enough. Let's go back to the surface." Okay, so again, cue winch. It's lifting the cage up to the surface, and just when it breaks the surface, the winch breaks, sending the girls plummeting 47 meters down into the ocean. And the rest of the film, you spend the time. Okay, well, there's another challenge. I think they had an hour left.
That's right,
air left in their
tanks
tank.
And the oxygen. Yeah.
And it's like pitch black. Well, not pitch black down there. It's pretty dark down there. And anyway, the rescue ensues, and I won't ruin it for you. The rest of you.
No, but the thing is, because we have to finish off. The thing is, Brian.
Yeah.
With the running out of oxygen. Would you, after seeing all those dirty, great, big, fat sharks swimming around, size of them, Would you get out of that cage and go for your little oxygen tank? Because I wouldn't.
No. I'll be honest, I wouldn't have gotten in the cage in the first place.
Neither was I. See, do you think that they've gone like that? You know, the girls have looked at the captain and gone, he doesn't half look like Matthew Modine. And Matthew Modine's got one of those little faces that, you know, you can trust. Do you think it's gone like that? No. I was only joking.
No.
Anyway,
no, he doesn't. No.
Brian, Brian,
yeah.
I'm sorry we've got to finish here because unfortunately, we've got another guest waiting to call in. Brian, it's been absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Frank, and thank you. I'm sorry, I forgot the name of your guest.
Well, it's Paul.
Lauren had the wine, right?
It's Paul, yeah. Laura had the wine.
Okay.
Ed and Paul are the
Ed and Paul, yes. Well, yeah, thank you. It's been a pleasure. Sorry, it's a bit brief. We had a little trouble connecting before, but
So next month, yes. If I send you through, I'll tell you, I'm going to ask you to review a film for us next month. So it won't be a horror or anything like that.
Okay,
and it'll be a nice one. It'll be a nice, gentle one.
Dunkirk.
Yeah, like Cabin in the Woods or something. Or the Hills Have Eyes, you know, something like that.
Okay, I know you haven't guessed, but have you seen the film The Descent?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, do you know what I was talking about? Something about potholes, and this is like true, and it goes back to the 80s when I read about this. And these potholes were in France, and they got stuck. One of them got stuck, and they said we'll have to go up and get a rescue team. Unfortunately, they couldn't find him. So after 3 days, they found him, and he was dead. Do you know how he died, Brian?
How?
A rat went through his mouth.
Oh,
at the inside of him. How's that? And that's a true story.
Oh, that's sick.
So, yeah. So
enjoy your afternoon, Brian.
in other words, we have seen Descent, and it was a good film actually. But anyway, in the next couple of days, I'll send you through a film to review for next month. Is that okay?
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, great. Thank you. I love doing this. I
Excellent.
Love this.
Excellent.
Love talking to you guys.
Absolutely. You know, it's been a great pleasure, and until next month, I think that the boys and Laura wants to say goodbye.
Bye, Brian.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, Brian.
Cheers. Take care.
Cheers, Brian. And I'm only disappointed about one thing. They didn't need a bigger boat.
Yeah, and you know what? They'd say that, wouldn't they? That's one of the most famous lines in any film. We need a bigger boat.
And the girls in the cage with oxygen running out, saying, "You think I'm
a
boring now, do you?"
Have a good day, Brian. Sure. Cheers.
Okay, you too. Take care. Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Well, that was wonderful, Brian. What we're going to do, we're going to. Do you know what? Never mind. We was going to play a song, and it was The Kids Are All Right by The Who, but we're not going to play that now, because what we're going to do, we're going to go straight over to Derek Shelmerdine. And Derek Shelmerdine is one of these fellas who knows everything about everything. And with you, Paul and Laura, the lovely Laura, and also Ed, being in the music business, this will be right up your street. And he's not there yet, so listen, you know, the likes of, you know, the Mersey BT and everything else, and you do, don't you, Paul? You know, you've had some great inspirational, how can I say this, take on music, because I always remember your rendition of You Never Walk Alone, which was absolutely amazing when you play it, and also We Go Again, which is absolutely amazing. So, albeit that tragedy has struck you, you know, has inspired you to write a song, but also when you look at, like, I mentioned Chuck Berry before, and Little Richard and Jerry Lee Lewis, these great people of the rock and roll era, who really and truly, before we go over to Derek, be very brief, who inspired you?
Rachmaninoff.
Right, so
That's actually true, that.
Yeah.
Rachmaninoff.
Yeah, it's a quick answer. I thought you wanted to be very quick.
Okay.
If you've got an hour, I'll tell you why.
No, okay. No, that's cool. I'll tell you who inspired me, Puccini, believe it or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
Puccini and Caruso, because that's all I listened to as a child growing up. Anyway, we're going right over to Derek. Hello, Derek.
Hello, Frank. Hi, guys.
Hi, Derek.
Hi, Derek.
Hi, Derek.
So,
Hi.
you've got a book signing at the Bewley Motor Museum, haven't you, next week? What's that all about?
That's right. On Saturday.
Yeah,
What it is, it's going to be really interesting because it's a big quiz event. It's probably the biggest professional and amateur quiz event in the UK, and it's a book signing in the afternoon, and then I'll carry on a book signing in the quiz room in the evening. But on that particular, in the quizzes, you've got 3 or 4 chasers there. You've got the Beast, Paul Sinner, Sean Wallace, and you've got 4 to 5 eggheads there as well. People like Kevin and Chris and Pat. So it should be a really interesting day.
So, obviously, but why the Bewley Motor Museum? Why there? Because it seems a very strange place, to... I know Ed's just said, why not? He mimed, why not? But it seems a very strange place, to be honest. Who chose this venue, anyway?
Well, it's organised by a company called Quiz Britain, and they're based in the sort of Hampshire, New Forest kind of area. But it's a logical venue from that point of view. But it just lends itself beautifully to a well-known venue that's got another attraction, because the Motor Museum will be open all day as well. And it's a well-known venue that actually brings people in, I think.
Well, do you know the Bewleys, they descended from a fellow by the name of Robert Cecil, and Robert Cecil was the main prosecutor of the 1605 gunpowder plot.
Right.
It's an amazing story, actually, about that particular time and what people were going through at the time. So when you go down there, just think of Robert Cecil, the most powerful man in England during the ends of Elizabethan era, because this is while you're there, and just have a look around, because it's a very, very historical. Anyway. Well, what's got me is that you actually worked as a roadie for Pat Travers and Meal Ticket in 1977. What was that all about?
That's right.
That's incredible, that.
Well, it was a fun time. What happened was that I'd been working, and I was going through a pretty heavy-duty divorce, and I decided it was time for a change of direction.
Right.
So I became a professional roadie for about a year. I moved down to London and got employed by Pat Travers Band. I was actually with them for about a month or 6 weeks or so. And then I got involved with a band called Meal Ticket. This is about 1976, so this is the tail end of the London pub rock era. And they were one of the really big London pub rock bands, Meal Ticket. And what was interesting then, really interesting, was that the whole punk thing was breaking late 75, 76. And it was swept away everything before it. So lots of bands, people like Racing Cars in South Wales, Meal Ticket in London, they never really quite managed to move forward, because the only thing anybody was interested in was punk, Sex Pistols, Clash, The Damned. But it was a great time.
Even, you was a drummer in your past life, weren't you, as well?
That's right. Way back in the early 60s, when I was leaving, towards the end of leaving school, this is about 63, myself and a couple of friends decided we'd form a band, and I decided I fancied playing the drums, because, being paid to hit things, I thought was, always going to be a good idea. And I just absolutely loved it. Really, really enjoyed it. I was never down the sort of minimalist route of drumming. No. I was always...
Well, to be honest...
hit everything you can as hard as you can. Sorry?
Well, to be honest, sitting with me is Laura Gilchrist, and she's in the Amazing Kappa Band, and she's the drummer.
Oh, right.
Oh,
yeah. It's a great instrument.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I was reading before about your history and things, and how you got started, and just really interesting. It's nice to talk to another drummer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, as well, what Laura said. I think Laura is one of the well, I've only seen a couple of female drummers in my time. But Laura, honestly, she's absolutely brilliant, and that's what makes it the Amazing Kappa Band that more unique, because he doesn't only have a female drummer as in Laura, but he also has a fine bass player. And Maria, she's absolutely wonderful as well, and it draws the attention not just of males, but also females, where the big draw is Paul Kappa. So there's a mixture of everything, and every time that they're going to give a sort of gig, well, not a sort of gig, a gig, packs the houses out, which is wonderful, because as I said, you being an ex-enthusiastic drummer, do you think that the likes of getting away from all male groups, that the women of today, are coming into more playing the instruments, do you think that's an appeal to anybody or everybody, or just one section of the audience is like male?
No, I think it's a good thing. If you look back at bands like the Velvet Underground, Mo Tucker, she was one of the best-known drummers of that kind of era. Yeah. I think having a very powerful rhythm section makes a heck of a difference to the sound of the bands. It's really, I think, the rhythm section that drives puts a lot of the sort of energy into the sound. And I think having a mixture of men and women, guys and gals, actually doing that, I think is has to be a good thing.
Well, listen, was you going to say something there, Laura?
It's just making me think of it sounds a bit like obscure, but years ago I was reading this. I got this book. My boyfriend actually bought me this book called Women Drummers, and the author, I can't remember who wrote it, but she talks about how like cavemen and women used to use the drums in like kind of as a I don't know the words, but like a traditional kind of communication tool, and it was always the women that would beat the drums. So women actually started out.
Well, to be honest, but it's changed now, Laura, because what they do with those things, instead of beating it on the drum, they beat it over the heads of us.
That's all a bit cruel, isn't it?
That is all a bit of cruel, anyway. Well, it says that you were an engineer. You went back to university, became an engineer, because, like facing me, is a fellow who's nodding his head, Ed Gilchrist, who's Laura's dad, by the way, and he's an engineer. He graduated from Cambridge University, no less.
But that's about as long a time ago as you. I must be probably even older than you there, Derek. I think I was at school. I was leaving school in the 60s too, just like you.
Yeah.
But yeah, in fact, I just 2 weeks ago went to a 50th anniversary from my university group. Just astonishing to think it's that long ago, isn't it? But what's great is still having your health, isn't it, really? And some fantastic memories. Yeah. Fantastic memories. What I was just gonna come back on, Frank talking about drumming and stuff, and what Laura didn't tell you, because she's just too shy to do this, just too humble to tell you. They play about 200 gigs a year. So that's pretty busy. Right. That's pretty busy.
Absolutely.
And she's been with the band how long, Paul? Now, how long has Laura been with the band?
That's 5.5 years, something like that.
Yeah, coming up to 6, I think.
This September 6, I think.
So that's a lot of gigs, and some of them are 5 hours long. So you'll know what that's like to play drums for 5 hours.
Well, this is it. I don't think people. I think you'll appreciate what I'm going to say, along with my guests here, that people don't realise what's put in the background before they get on the stage and what's going to happen. Do you agree with that? Going back to the 60s, Derek.
Yeah.
As the PA system changed, like I used to go to the Iron Door, and do you think that the PA systems from the 60s has changed so dramatically to like now as it changed?
Absolutely. I mean, they changed dramatically in the 60s. I mean, if you look at the Beatles at Shea Stadium, one of the problems they had is they had there are lots of photographs of them playing there, and they had like half a dozen Vox AC30s. One of the things they always said, one of the reasons they stopped touring was they just couldn't hear themselves at all. Yeah. And it was right in the sort of mid-60s, bands like Grateful Dead and The Who, they started getting bigger and bigger PA stacks. And it just, from the beginning of the 60s to the end of the 60s, it was like a completely different world. I think what's interesting now is you've got lots and lots and lots of power, and like all electronic things, the sizes are getting smaller and smaller and smaller for the same sort of sound.
Mm. Well, I was only watching a video of it today, and that was the Beatles on the rooftop, and they were absolutely brilliant live. They were phenomenal. And to look at them on their live, and you knew that they were live. Absolutely amazing. The organ work by Billy Preston, and also the guitars by obviously the three lads there, and even the drumming by Ringo Starr was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And it was the Beatles, I think, at the best, and I think it's the best live performance I've ever seen. That's absolutely true. That's in my opinion, by the way.
Yeah, they stopped the traffic, didn't they? In the end, the police
forced them to stop.
Down.
Just imagine the history if that would have, because they were going to play a number of songs. And you know what got me? I don't know whether you can elaborate on this. When I was watching it again, I've watched it a few times over the past couple of weeks, and I'm just watching the expressions, the body language and everything else on the lads, and they were enjoying it. They were thoroughly enjoying themselves, and all of a sudden they split. Did you think, I don't know, can you elaborate more? Did you think that they were enjoying themselves up there?
Oh, I think they probably were, because that was they hadn't played live since the mid-60s, and they must have really enjoyed that.
Well, you could see it with the smiles and, as I said, the body language.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the other thing about that era was that last album, the Let It Be, started life as the Get Back project, which was Paul McCartney's idea. And what he wanted was to have a film all the recording of the album, and culminated then in a proper hour and a half live concert somewhere in a small venue, something like the Hammersmith Odeon. Well, no, it would have probably been the Liverpool Empire. But what happened was, because they were all too busy falling out, the sessions went on for ages, and they released Abbey Road in the meantime, and they actually brought in Phil Spector to do the final remix, which Paul McCartney never liked. Which is why you had that.
Why did he like it? Could you elaborate on that?
I think he just thought it was over sophisticated. The strings were unnecessary. I think he wanted a raw version of it, because that's what he did. I don't know, 5 years ago, was it? It was remixed again for the Naked version, and that's how he thought the album should have been in the first place.
Oh, right.
I think one of the problems at that time was he was like John Lennon were not getting on in that period, and I think you're absolutely right. That half an hour or so on the rooftop was probably the happiest and most together they'd been since the sort of Sgt. Pepper days, I would have thought.
Absolutely. I think Paul wants to say something.
Yeah, I was just... Hi, Derek. I was just elaborating on the idea of the Get Back sessions where you have Paul and John. You can hear on some of the outtakes where they're putting together versions of Get Back. And Paul's talking about the Commonwealth and Enoch Powell's speeches, and John's kind of like messing all the time.
That's right.
He's saying, you've got McCartney going Commonwealth, and he's going yes, and they're obviously having a ball doing it. They're obviously falling about laughing doing it. So I don't think that they were. I mean, obviously the splits and divisions were there, and you can see the splits because Lennon would prefer to have Phil Spector as a producer, and of course McCartney was very much in the camp with George Martin. And and then they wanted different management teams. You know, you've got Alan Klein, and then McCartney wanting the Eastwoods because Eastman. I beg your pardon, not Clint Eastwood. Yeah. Did ever have Clint Eastwood as manager? No, the Eastman company is Linda's people as management. They were obviously splitting in every which way as a business concern. But I think as musicians, when you finally get in there and you're actually playing and doing what you like doing, a lot of that goes out the window. All the other stuff that they were arguing about, the lawsuits and the wrangles. But I think I think fundamentally the Beatles were by that time were quite heavily divided, and I think George felt really out of it, and Ringo felt like second class Beatles. I think they called themselves, didn't they? And so I can see why politically they were falling out. But when they get on stage and play together, well, I think that's when musicians just they either have that magic or they don't. And just as well to say, it's interesting, we followed Pat Travers around in Chicago when myself and Laura and Martin were over there. He's still going very strong. He's still going very strong over there, and the band's still strong as ever. Thought you might like to hear he's still doing well. I don't know whether you're in touch with him at all anymore.
No. In fact, Nick McBain was the drummer when I was with him.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So the guy that went off.
I just remember them doing things like States for Blues and things like that from that sort of era.
Oh, it's brilliant! Yeah,
it's great. It was great, and really good band. Yeah,
very underrated, I think.
Isn't that lovely, though? You know what Paul's just came out and said, and it says it's great because when we talk about especially iconic bands like the Beatles, and you're trying to get an insight into anything, and when something comes about and you're listening for the first time, lots of listeners will be listening to the first time. I'm not saying what actually broke them up, but but there's some of the parts. And the unfortunate thing is, I'm not a musician, you've been a musician, when you get up on the stage everything just disappears. My own profession, I've done it myself. I've been in dispute before I've got up to give a sort of an after dinner speech or a lecture, and everything goes by the by, and I just talk. So I do know and I do empathise with everything that's been said, to be honest. Well, I think we've gone.
Yeah, I think it was sort of.
I think are we still on? Yeah. No, I'm sorry, but we've lost. We've lost. Yeah, have we lost? Derek?
No, I'm still here, mate.
He's still there.
Oh, he's still there.
Still here.
I'm sorry. I thought we'd lost you there for a moment. Anyway.
No, I'm still here.
So listen, you've got this.
You're right.
Go on.
I was just going to say, I think you're absolutely right. With the Beatles thing, I mean, all the politics that was tearing them apart was one thing, but when they'd have actually got together into the music, they'd have just gone back to being, the musicians playing together and enjoying playing together. And I would have thought that half an hour on the roof was probably the best time they'd had in a long time.
Yeah, but you could see that in the body language and everything else, as I said. Derek, can you just tell us a little bit more about this Bewley thing that you've got? Then we'll have to close, unfortunately, because we've got Hollywood calling, and now we have a ufologist there calling in as well. We're going to talk about UFOs and things like that. So, can you tell us a little bit more about this thing and what you'll be doing and how long it's open for and how to get in touch?
Yeah, well, I could start by saying all of the details are on. Check it out on my website, rockandrollunraveled.com. But what it is, it's if anybody listening, it is a real quizzer for professional. It's the place to be, and it starts at 2:00 in the afternoon. And that's when the time. Load of AK chasers, people like Dick, milling in the afternoons. At about 7:00 in the evening, all the quizzing starts. So the whole thing should be a whole lot of fun.
Well, it's going to be exciting. Anyway, you were breaking up for a little bit there, but what we'll have to do, we'll have to leave it. But we've got your website thing and everything else.
That's great.
We'll tell the people at the end of the show, about Bewley. Derek, again, see you next month, and thank you so much for coming on again.
My pleasure. I really enjoy it.
Thank you so much, Derek. Thank
Good to see you.
I'll see you next month.
Cheers, Frank.
Cheers, Derek.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, Derek.
Bye, Derek.
Bye.
Oh, that was the great Derek Shelmerdine. Unfortunately, people, that he was breaking up. And when you break up, nothing can be done. It's the gremlins that come into. And yet, we were speaking to Brian Fennell, who
in Seattle.
So clear. We'll be speaking to Joe a bit later on.
Breaking up can be hard to do, though, Frank.
Yes. Do you know what? There's a song somewhere there.
I'm going to write it now. Wait a minute.
Breaking up is so hard to do.
No, not that one.
Oh, not that one. Oh, okay, then. I thought I'd just give you a little bit.
Just going back on that, sometimes we have a little joke amongst ourselves musicians. There's a famous sort of clip of George Harrison talking to Paul McCartney, and it's around about the same time that they're having all these arguments, and George is saying to Paul, well, I'll play if you want me to play, or I won't play if you don't want me to play. Whatever it is that'll please you, I'll do it. Yeah. And we always say that to each other on stage. I'll play if you want me to, or I won't play if you don't want.
It's a bit harsh, isn't it?
Because I seen that, and I didn't know whether they were, just taking the Michael, so to speak, or was it real?
He was quite dry, George.
I genuinely got the feeling that was real.
I think that was real,
yeah.
I
think
got
so.
the feeling it was real. Yeah, I got a feeling.
Yeah, okay.
That sounds like a song and all.
There is a song in there, yeah.
There is, yeah. I got a feeling. Yeah, we'll do that one.
Well, someone's just said I can't I can't really say about the first two words, but it started off with some two words. With your singing, just tuned in.
Is that from Francine?
That was Mr. Michael Carter, to be honest. And as I said, Mark Kinnish actually said about. I thought it was great. And we've got John Thompson listening in as well, and he said it's brilliant listening to you fellas and Laura. Thank you, Laura. It says,
chipping in.
So John, he's a novelist. Well, not a novel. He's written a book, and he'll be on in a couple of weeks, won't he? Next week. I'm asking Jason. You see, I know that you can't see or anything, so I have to ask Jason, because Jason waves his arms, pulls faces, gives me thumbs up, gives me thumbs down, and but anyway, Jason said that John Thompson talking about his book. Next week or the week after will definitely be on. Anyway, that's just to confirm a few things. And Mark Kinnish said, have you listened to the rhythm of the Falling Rain by the Cascades? We're talking about rain before, which is good, isn't it? To come out with that. Anyway, what we're going to do, we're going to play a couple of songs, and these are great songs actually. And one is by Paul Capper, the amazing Capper Bands. Have you ever heard of them, Ed?
I did read somewhere about them.
Is that the new song about a duck?
I think, yeah. I think it's the Ducks of God, I think. Something like that.
That's right, the Ducks of God.
Something like that.
And there's another one by the Kinks. Have you ever heard of them as well?
The Kinks, yeah.
Lola, you know, so... you never know Lola, did you, for the Kinks, this new group called the Kinks?
No, are you not going to play Rat Attack by Doris Day?
Well, no, I'm not going to play Islands in the Sun either by Dolly Parton, which is a shame. But anyway, here's Dogs of God by the amazing Kappa Band and Lola, featuring, I've got to say, our wonderful Laura Gilchrist, and Lola by the Kinks.
The best in 60s and 70s music, plus a little bit of history. Tune into Frank Carlyle every Monday at 8 p.m. here, only on Mersey Radio.
Lola! That's absolutely fantastic. I think it's great. I've got to ask you this. Got to ask you this. Right. Dogs of God.
Yes.
Right. I've got to ask you, what inspired you to write Dogs of God? Because before I even seen who it was by, I said, this is a rock and roll. You know, when I just seen Dogs of God, I knew that it was a big rock and roll band, and I was right. So why have they got all these, like, like the Trogs and Wild Thing? You know, you're getting all these wonderful things. Paranoia by Zep.
Black Sabbath.
God,
sacrilege!
Sacrilege! Do you know what? I'm sorry I mentioned this. I'm going to go. I'm going to digress and go to my wonderful guest, and she has a lovely name, like it's just like yours, Laura, lovely, and it's Sacha. Sacha, and Sacha is she mentions she talks about the unexplained and also UFOs. She's a ufologist in professional terms. So we're going over there. And it's good evening, Sacha.
Good evening.
Oh, wonderful. And that's loud and clear. And unfortunately, our last guest, he was breaking up, and I don't know where he was breaking up from, but you're as loud as clear as Brian Fennell all the way from Seattle. And I know that you're on our doorstep here. But I've watched a programme. Well, it's not a programme. It's a brand new film out called. It's a big documentary, actually. It's a big 2-hour documentary, and it's only come out now. But it's on the cinema rather than the television. It's called The Unacknowledgeable. Have you ever seen this?
Well, actually, I have. I watched the director's cut because I couldn't find a free version of the short version, so I watched kind of like 3 hours of it, but I did skim some of it because I've seen a lot of it before.
Oh, right, okay.
It was a lot of it's been, from the 2001 Disclosure Project.
That's right. Can I say something there, Sacha? Then you can explain.
Uh-huh.
Do you know when you see these people sitting down? Every single one of them, whether it was an astronaut, whether he was from intelligence, whether everything, really everything, and officers and government officials, all saying what they'd seen, and yet people still deny UFOs. Can you explain that itself?
Well, I find it very intriguing that that it's kind of like they're only waiting for, say, the president or maybe just the president, really, of America, rather than the Prime Minister, to say, yes, they're real. Everyone else has disclosed. Most of the countries don't hide it. They openly, investigate, and if anything happens, they will put it out to the public. It's kind of like a cap on it in just the USA and the UK. And I find it amusing that these same people that we know that they're saying these people are liars, they're lying to us, they're waiting for them to tell us the truth. There's a massive irony there for me, but I don't think we need them people to tell us. We need the people who've seen these things to tell us, and we should be listening to them and not people who we know lie to us constantly, and if they tell us the truth or tell us anything, there's usually a spin on it anyway. So
is that where the diversity comes from? Is that what you're saying?
I
about
think so.
Who's spinning and who's telling the truth?
Well, it's more of why would they hide it? There's various reasons why they might hide it. One, because they've got no idea what's going on. Or two, it's them. Or three, it's them and it's aliens and the military. Or it's just aliens. Or it's not aliens at all.
Have you ever heard of... I'm sorry there but have you ever heard of a thing in Canada? Because we have Canadians listening at the moment, called the Shag Bay incident.
Oh, the Shag Harbour, yeah. That was when something was seen, was it entering or leaving the water?
It was both, actually. It was both.
Yeah.
It was went in, and these are ordinary fishermen, just out, and what I'm talking about, I don't mean fishermen out in trawlers that you see in Jaws or anything like that.
Yeah.
These are just in little boats and little rowing boats and fishing, just ordinary people, and yet they seen something go into the water, huge, and it made not much of a ripple, and then come out again. So
absolutely.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
I can't really remember any more than what we've just said. That there's something it was seen, but in Canada.
But why did he deny it? Go on, I'm sorry. In Canada, go on.
There's quite a lot of activity still going on over the lakes. It seems to be mostly over the lakes, whereas, say, in the USA it's over power stations. But in Canada, there's a lot of activity seen of things going in and coming out. I saw some footage somewhere, I can't remember the site, I'd have to find out the site, I could tell you next time, of something, and you can see these two lights coming down, it comes close to the water, you can see the reflection of the lights on the water, and then you see it disappear and go into the water, and that was within the past 10 years, I think, so, there's quite a lot of stuff out there.
Well, I was in touch with a lady from... her name's Tricia, by the way, and we just chatting away as you do, and anyway, she lives in Canada, and she said, who have you got on this show tomorrow evening? And I said, a ufologist. I said, but a fellow being, an author of Mersey's BT during the 60s and 70s and whatever. I said, I'm a ufologist. She said, when I was a child, we used to just play out and we watched them constantly.
Yeah.
And that's as a child. I said, so you believe in UFOs? She said, well, I've seen them.
Yeah.
So what do you want me to say? Not say, no, I don't believe them, or anything like that, because what I seen, the reported as UFOs, and he's more or less saying to me that she's seen them on a more or less daily basis. In Quebec, that's in and around Quebec, by the way.
Say that again, sorry.
I said where she lived as a child was in and around Quebec. I think Ed wants to say something.
Hi, Sacha. I'm Ed.
Hi, Ed.
Just listening in, and I read some of the brief on what you've been doing in your life in respect of UFOs and things, and I was just wondering, there must be some things which just stick out in your life as being the most influential for you, the most shocking or profound experience.
Is that a personal incident?
So from for you personally, what's the most profound thing that you think has happened to you?
Well, we talked about this before a little bit, but it was 1997, and I went to Wales with someone that I was seeing, Steve, and his sister, and their uncle John, and then I took my son, and she took her son, so there was 4 adults, 2 children, and we were on Berwyn Mountain in a place called Glenkirioch, which is about 16 miles outside Wrexham.
Yeah, we've been there.
Right, okay. So it was right up on. It was on the road. You got to the end of the road, and all it is the forest.
It's
the
forest,
road
yeah,
ends.
and an inclination right the way to the top.
Yeah. So that end house there, Cairn Fern, I think it's called. That was where we were staying, and we'd rented it for the weekend, and it was February. And Steve, he got the notion to go out looking, sky watching, see if anything was sort of floating about. We kind of sky watched, but never really thought we'd see anything, and if we did, it was always probably a seagull or something, I mean, they do reflect light, and they do fly at night, so we've been fooled by stuff before, but anyway, he thought, oh, well, there's no point because it's so cloudy. And then he thought, well, no, because they're probably hiding clouds. So we went out thinking that, and lo and behold, he sees something off in the distance. So he calls me out after some time of not being able to see where it was. I saw it and said that I thought it looked like lightning, but it kept coming on and it had this distinct pattern to it. And then it stopped moving. I think it was probably moving towards Liverpool. And it stopped and it came towards us, but it sort of zigzagged. It didn't zoom over, it didn't do anything dramatic. It was dramatic in itself. It was massive. I think if to look at it, I'd have to turn, see the whole thing as it was coming towards us. I'd have to turn my head from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, but it was in the clouds, and this light was just rippling out that far. So I don't know how big it was, but the light effect coming from it was that big.
How did it make you feel?
Well, at the time, we were kind of stunned and not panicking or anything. We didn't do anything that we would expect to do. And then it kind of moved over, so it was in front of the house, and then it kind of drifted over really slowly. Hardly noticed it moving, to be honest, until it was right above us. And then there's a strobe light that went off behind us, and we looked, and there was this sphere on the ground, which was about, I don't know, if I had to put my hands in the air, tip of my fingers and down and round, that's how big it was. So how that got there, I have no idea. Didn't see it, didn't hear it. I don't know if it was there when we went out. I don't think it could have been, but anyway, it was pretty freaky. And I was kind of I don't know why I was behaving like I did. I just kind of took it in my stride for a while. When I've spoken to Steve since, and he said that he wasn't frightened at first, but then he started to get really nervous. John was really frightened, and Daniel was in the same sort of frame of mind as me, just wow. But my son, he said that something had touched his foot, that something had come through the hedge and touched his foot, but I didn't look to see what. I didn't try and reassure him and say, oh, there's nothing there. I didn't even think to. I just said to Steve, the kids are getting scared, so he said, come on then, let's take them back inside. So we did, and then John and Daniel went and started watching TV, and the children started playing at the bottom of the stairs where they were when I came downstairs when Steve had shouted me. Steve went to the sink and started drying the dishes or washing the dishes, and I kind of looked at them thinking that they were being really weird because they were just going back to being normal, and I decided to go back outside by myself and didn't think it was a stupid idea, and neither did anyone else. Nobody said don't go out there, don't do that, or nothing. It was just so bizarre.
Did anyone else see it?
So I kind of what?
Sorry, were there any reports of other people seeing this?
No, nobody else reported it, and I've asked the police, and they said no one reported it, and it was ridiculous. It was just this huge, circle of light above us with lines of light coming out from the circle. They were rotating one way, and then there was a kind of little other light that was at the edge of the lines of light that was rotating the other way. So it kind of looked like a mushroom, a neon mushroom.
What you're describing doesn't sound too different from how they've been depicted on movies. So, Encounter, a lot like what they were. They were just rotating lights, weren't they?
Well, this is, lots of UFO sightings. What gets me about the UFO sightings is when astronauts talk about them. And the likes of Buzz Aldrin, it came out that, it wasn't a secret tape, it wasn't, but it was just kept back by NASA. But
that's kind of acceptable, isn't it? Astronauts seeing a UFO, that's like
they say a bogey, don't they? There's a bogey and it's still following us.
See them in Wales.
Yeah.
So it's just something that I can hardly even believe myself, so I don't ever expect anyone to believe me. It's ridiculous. I know it's ridiculous, but it happened. There's 3 of us still that would talk about it if we could talk to the right people. But not only that, it's just the internet is so vicious to people like us when we've seen something like that, and we're not even claiming that we know what it was or that it was extraterrestrial, because when you look at the Disclosure Project, going back to the film Unacknowledged, all of those people saying that they worked on this technology means that we've got that technology, so that could have been our technology, but then you have to think, well, if it was ours, then they did that to us on purpose, and they left us thinking that could have been some alien craft or some alien interaction for the rest of our lives. And it doesn't matter what I think now. It was what I thought at the time, 20 years ago, when I knew nothing about anything to do with anything UFOs, really. And now I think, well, if we've got that technology, then it could have been ours. But then what a really cruel thing to do. So neither option is preferred, aliens or people, because it was a really traumatic thing. And, and I've got no evidence for it. It's just me, Steve and Danya, and they don't want to talk in public because they see how I get treated. So, it's really that, and I think we'd have more reports if things were a little bit kinder, or there was somewhere for witnesses to go to that was some kind of structured environment.
We're not encouraged, are we, really, to do that?
No.
I'm not sure why, other than the common excuse is that it would put fear into the population for no good reason, but I'm not sure that it would really. I was going to ask you also about what you just started to say there, about your own personal feelings about what these things might be, where they originate. But before I ask you that, to maybe elaborate on a little bit, can I ask you, was there any, with this particular experience in the Berwyn Mountains, was there any other effect on you that you couldn't explain? So, for example, did you feel that maybe there'd been a time slip, that you'd lost a few minutes, or anything like that, or to try and explain why people got back to the house and they seemed to be behaving normally, and that seemed to surprise you that it was like it hadn't happened? So, were there any other effects like that?
Well, one thing that stuck in my mind, and also Steve's, was the fact that the field in front of us had lots of sheep in it. And now you know how scatty sheep are. If something spooks them, they'll run off a cliff. But they were all laying down and none of them were making any noise, and we didn't behave we didn't react there was no it's kind of like feeling muted but not really realising. It was kind of, we took it in our stride very well. Didn't think of the obvious things to think of, so I don't know if that was an effect.
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind, Sacha, when you say that, is the Mandela effect. And you probably know the Mandela effect, where you have a false memory of an incident, and people are trying to explain that as being you've disappeared into a parallel universe of some kind. I know that's getting a bit way off now, but the Mandela effect is quite common with some people. So some people do have false memories where it is a memory, but they kind of behave as though it hasn't happened, or something that didn't happen, and they have this memory that it did.
But I think you're trying to suppress something that you've seen or experienced.
It could be, it could have been.
I don't think it was the Mandela effect, because there was, there were 4 adults there. John actually overdosed and died. He couldn't deal with it. He couldn't reconcile it. He never got over it. He was obsessed by it. Wow. And I didn't know any of that until, he'd been dead for 3 years. And for Steve and Dania, the effects for them were just as devastating. And it just resonates inside us every day. We don't want it to define who we are, but it already has, because it's changed our behaviour, it's changed who we were, whatever path we were on to be, whatever person we were destined to be, changed, I just feel like whoever I was died that day. Yeah. And then everything else I had to figure out from there, because, you have that thing I thought, they were aliens, and I thought that they could just come and go as they pleased, and, and you can't understand the terror that I actually went through, and, I can not feel terror now, but, last week, week before last, I spoke at the SPI UFO Paranormal Conference in Falkirk, and afterwards I have this kind of crash and burn, because I'm telling people all this, and I know there's no point to me telling them, because I know that I can never have answers, and the reason I'm talking about it is because I want answers. So, it's kind of still affects me a lot, but it now, instead of making me angry, frustrated or whatever, it kind of makes me feel sad, that we've had to go through that and then live with that. So, and this is not just personal to me, this is what we all go through, because we have that massive questioning of what is reality. Yeah.
You're going on about reality, which is quite right, and everything else, because I seen a UFO when I was going down to France with 4 friends of mine. We used to meet up every year. We always went down to Perpignan, and we were in the Dordogne district. We seen this. I'm being brief here. We seen this massive thing. I'm useless at estimating size or distance. It was a mile away. It was 350 feet in diameter. We weren't looking at it in the sky. We were actually looking down at it. And within 6 minutes of us looking down with loads of other people, it shot up from this valley where it was. That's how we were looking down, and it went from there, from A to B, gone. Clear blue sky, within 2 seconds, gone, bang, right, vertical. It was vertical, big solid thing. It was big, great thing, roundish, whatever way you want to describe the symmetry of it. Anyway, we never said a word during the 4 hours that we were in this car. We never said a word until we got to Perpignan, or the periphery of Perpignan. Went in for a beer. That was the first time when someone spoke, when the barman asked what we wanted, and we said 5 beers. That was it, because we never said a word all the way down. We don't know what happened, and that was it. And I think Ed wants to say something.
I just wanted to say, this is for me, and I guess anyone listening who has the same question, is there anywhere people can share experiences that they or people they know have had? A place that's sympathetic and not abusive,
Well, there are all these organisations that pop up, and then they vanish because they can't deliver the goods. They say that they're going to be the help, and all they want really is for you to say, oh yeah, I'll go on a radio show, yeah, I'll talk at your conference, yes, you can film me doing that, yes, you can interview me. They want people to go public, and there doesn't seem to be anywhere that actually offers help properly.
Well, you're more or less talking about, on Ed, is counselling.
I guess that would be, yeah.
It's counselling, no matter how you look at it, because have you ever seen a film called Mara Jokovic or something like that? I forget her name.
Erin Brockovich.
That's it. And she was in a film called The Fourth Kind.
Yeah.
You ever seen that film?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? When you see this, copper, and he's got his little CCTV on his police car, and he's looking, and it's in black and white, obviously, and you just see this massive craft passing by the house. It says it's a fascinating film. Unfortunately, lovely Sacha Christie, we have to leave it until next month. It's been wonderful again, and I'm glad that Ed asked you about your personal experience, because it was fascinating, because I just sat back and listened to you reel it off, rather than the last time a few months ago when I had to be intense trying to talk to you, so I was losing a few things.
I'll be speaking at a conference in Hull in September called the Outer Limits Conference, so I'll be talking about that then. It's only £10 entry as well. So.
Yeah, well, listen, we'll talk about that if you don't mind. Next month, next August. Well, it's only next week, isn't it? But we'll talk about that in the next 4 weeks, and maybe you can tell us more about the whole conference, because it's the capital of culture year down there, isn't it?
It is now, yeah, which is great news, yeah.
It is great news, and that'll be fantastic, that, and we'll talk about it.
Okay, lovely.
Oh, thank you
for having me on.
No, it's been great. It's been great, Sacha, with the Russian name. And Christie as well. Sacha Christie. Sounds like, starring Brad Pitt and Sacha Christie. It's absolutely wonderful, The UFO Abound, starring Sacha Christie and Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Oh,
special guest star.
Yeah, special guest star. Special guest star. How about that? That's brilliant. Thank you so much again, and we'll speak next month.
Okay, darling. Thanks, guys.
Ta-ra, Sacha.
Bye.
Bye now. Bye. Well, that was the lovely Sacha. What we're going to do, lads and girls, is going right over to. We're not going right over to. Jason always does this to me, And he
does it deliberately, because he knows how susceptible you are.
I'm very fragile.
You are.
Laura, let's tell you that. Aren't I fragile, Laura?
Sensitive and fragile.
Thank you.
Like a flower.
Like a flower, did you know?
Unlike strong and stable Jason.
Oh, isn't that lovely? I'm like a flower. Am I called like a flower? Or what?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about Ed calling Jason a Tory.
Strong and stable.
A Tory.
He's got that look about him, hasn't he?
Yes, he's got that Tory look. Poor Jason, he does not
Jason
know.
And the Tories.
All his Jason does all nice is just sit there, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And he doesn't mention, doesn't say.
Just make sure you stay on air. That's what he does.
Oh, is that what it is?
That's
I
his job,
I thought it was electricity.
Yeah.
He's got your chair wires up.
I was just gonna say that it's good that you still think it's electricity. That's all it needs. But there you go.
You have to get it.
I have got the off switch.
Oh,
I can't switch it off.
That was an intervention.
Oh,
that was an intervention. Absolutely.
See, I told you he's nasty, didn't I? When he's not here, he's nasty. Because they've actually said, "What's this Jason fella like? This producer? Oh, nasty piece of work. Don't rub him up the wrong way." When you've just seen it.
Frank, all we know is he gives us biscuits.
I know, and it's lovely biscuits.
There won't be any biscuits next week.
No, there won't be any biscuits next week.
No, he's got to cut them in half.
Because we're going to keep the truffles. We're going to keep these sea salted caramel truffles. Right. Anyway, we've got Jo on, and Jo, I hope she won't be talking about sea salted caramel truffles, because we're going straight over to Hollywood and the lovely, wonderful Jo Whittaker. Good evening and good afternoon there, Jo.
Good afternoon. I wish I could talk about chocolate. I'm diabetic. You're just being mean now.
No, see that. Can you drink? Can you drink? Jo,
I beg your pardon?
Can you drink? Can you drink? Alcohol.
Oh, I can have a couple, and that's been naughty.
Well, that's good. That I'm glad that at least you can drink, and I'm not saying that about being diabetic or anything like that, because I can't eat chocolates, and this is what they did to me. They talk about biscuits, and I can't eat biscuits. I can't eat truffles. I can't drink wine. I'm one of those fellas who is just one of these fellas. And anyway, what's happening in wonderful Hollywood? Is there anything happening? Because what we've just had on, Joe, fully enough, is a ufologist, UFOs, and she's been giving us her personal experience about that. What's the UFO phenomenon over in America? We all know, really, but what's your experiences, or have you had experiences, and what's the buzz going around?
In fact, a couple of years ago, I did see something unusual in the night sky, but the word back was that they were doing some testing on some new. We've got a military base out here, and we test a lot of flights. But we're saying that California is the top place for UFO reportings and sightings. And in fact, just looking at their website now, where you can record, in the last, I would say, 7 days, there's been 5 sightings.
How many?
5.
5, wow. Can I just say hello to Greg Tolan's all the way down there in Australia? He's listening in. It's early morning there. Good morning over to you, and good evening over to me, Greg. Carry on, Joe. I'm awfully sorry. Go on.
It says on this website, the people are generally seeing these things late at night, or are not crazy people. The people out walking their dog, going out for a smoke, and what can I tell you? I mean, we've got Area 51. We only spoke about that the other week.
That's true. Do you think that the likes of Area 51, though, Joe, is it a bane, B-A-N-E, is it a bane in American governments, any government that comes into power? I'll tell you one of the strangest things I heard was that they won't tell presidents of the United States everything about UFOs, because as they say, they're only in it, they're not president forever.
And it's plausible deniability, isn't it?
And it's plausible. Brilliant, yeah, absolutely.
I got that from a film.
Absolutely. Just in the same way they denied Area 51 didn't exist.
Well, they always denied it, though, didn't they, Joe? They always denied Area 51 existed, and I was told about that in 1981, even before anyone known about it, and it was off an off-duty USAF Air Force fella, obviously USAF, and we had a great chat, and he mentioned aliens to me, he mentioned UFOs, he mentioned everything, and it was amazing. And that was in a place called it was in a place just outside Garmisch in Germany.
Wow. I know we had a whistleblower from Area 51 out here who said, yes, a lot of testing goes on, and these they have a couple of what would you call them, unidentified flying objects. Yeah. I mean, seriously, dude. I mean, come on. We're not here alone. There's a big universe out there. We'd be naive to think it was just we were the only people existing in the solar system. I mean,
well, if you say you're sitting on a beach, which you do, and you're always sending these wonderful pictures, making everyone jealous here in Liverpool and everywhere else of that wonderful beach of yours. Anyway, is it Malibu Beach? Yeah, it's Malibu Beach. Anyway, if you get a grain of sand and you pick that grain of sand up from the beach and just went right out, say about 200 yards off the beach, and you said to the friends, whoever you're sitting on the beach with, can you see this on the tip of my finger? And they will say no. And that's what we're like. Just this earth of ours to the vast distance of space. So to get here, what would have to be? It'd have to be these wormholes, unless it's what I call teletransportation, where you can just say, take that object from there, but it's a big UFO, and put it there into this type of universe.
But Joe, it's Ed here. Just observation that, I mean, you're in Hollywood there, and Hollywood's full of science fiction films.
Weirdos.
Well, yeah, there you go. It's definitely full of weirdos, and I'm sure you got lots of people you know like that. I guess it's the movie business is really filled with UFO stories, and TV series like X-Files and Independence Day and loads of films, movies, TV series about that subject. Do you ever think that it's popular not just because people like to fantasize about those things, but because it's based on some reality?
I think so. I think people have a desire to know. Anyone who's lived a life will tell you. We want to think that these other people out there. I think so. Yeah, I'd agree.
That Men in Black is based on a true story, isn't it?
It is. No, it is. No, because it was actually based on a true story, but they had to bring Will Smith in place of what's his name? He's got the fine black actor with that very distinctive voice. Morgan Freeman. Thank you, Laura.
Was he going to be in it? Was he?
Yep. And so they changed the old script.
He would have made it too serious. Yeah.
No, it was already planned as a serious one.
Really?
Yeah. So, it's that sort of scenario where things can be changed. And you mentioned the X-Files. The X-Files was actually filmed in Canada because they didn't want to film it in America.
Okay, didn't know that.
Well, let me just say, look, there was 120,000 sightings in the US alone in 2016. Now, you can't tell me that 120,000 people are wrong.
No, and they're not all, people who you go, they're weirdo, because there's scientists,
pilots,
there's physicists, pilots, doctors, you name them.
And multiple sightings of the same object.
Yeah, absolutely. Those wonderful Phoenix lights, they tried to dismiss it as flares, and it just never happened.
And everyone's got a film of it, yeah.
Everyone. It's and from different angles, by the way. Yeah. There's a film out now called Forgotten Lights. It's right out now, and I watched it the other night, and it's about people who went missing, actually.
That's an interesting thought there, isn't it, Frank? Because everybody now has a mobile phone, so the chances of catching something like this on film now is going to be way, way bigger than it ever was before. So
it's not only mobile phone. You can go back to the 80s when everyone was carrying around video recorders, and this is how they got them. So, cameras, anything. But as you said about mobile phones, phenomenal. It really is. Are you still there, Joe?
Oh, yes, I am.
I thought we'd put you to sleep, and because it's only early afternoon there, isn't it, really? So what's the weather like anyway? Getting away from UFOs for a change. What's the weather like there? Is it lovely and beautiful and everything else?
85.
Oh, shut up, will you? Yeah. This is awful, this. Go on, carry on.
Yeah. Heat waves. It's going up to 108. It's been in the valley.
That's too hot.
Say the valley. People just want to get to the coast. The coast is a nice, happy 72.
Isn't that strange, where you can go from, that oppressive heat right onto the coast because you've got that wonderful sea breeze coming in, and it just brings down the temperature. What's it like? What's the degrees like of a night, of an evening going into the night?
I used to sit around 16.
Oh, right, okay.
It's not anymore.
So it's comfortable. It's comfortable.
Yeah, it's nice in the evenings. It's just the days are unbearably hot in the valley.
It's just so that I can get me bearings for when I come over and visit you in this wonderful Hollywood.
Always welcome.
I know that, Joe. I know that. Joe, unfortunately, we have to leave again. And it's just been wonderful speaking to you again. And, we love you. Everyone loves you. And I think Paul's just going to say goodbye. Laura's going to say goodbye, and the wonderful Ed Gilchrist is going to say goodbye.
Thanks, Joe. Goodbye. I've just got a picture of Frank coming to see you, and packing his speedos.
Oh, that's just ruined everything now.
That's ruined the whole evening, everything. Anyway,
you can wear speedos, Frank. I don't mind.
Thank you, Joe.
Cheers, Joe.
Thanks, Joe. Bye.
Anyway,
it's a pleasure. We'll be news next week, huh?
See you next week. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Always. Till next time. Bye.
Bye. Bye, Joe. Bye. Well, anyway, that was and Monty Connor's been listening in, by the way, all the way from America and Atlanta. Okay. So it's absolutely wonderful that these people are listening, and I just want to say a big thank you to Ed Gilchrist. Thank you, Ed.
You're welcome.
The lovely Laura Gilchrist.
You're very welcome.
And the wonderful Paul Capper.
Thank you, Frank. It's a pleasure to be broadcasting with you.
And this is, I've got to say, thank you to, the fellow with the big baseball bat right next to me, and that's Jason, the producer. Without Jason, there'd be no show, and I've got to thank him. But most importantly, I've got to thank every single one of you listening in, wherever you are throughout the world. Thank you so much, and until next week, this is Frank Carlyle for Mersey Radio. See you all next week. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.